When you really stop and think about it, planning a massive event, especially a wedding or like a large corporate gala, is a completely wild financial experiment.
Oh, absolutely. It is a staggering logistical undertaking.
Right. I mean, you are essentially building a pop-up luxury restaurant, a private entertainment venue, and like a highly coordinated theatrical production from scratch. And it's all meant to exist for a single span of about 8 hours.
Just one day.
Yeah.
And the sheer amount of upfront capital required to pull that off is, well, it's terrifying when you consider how fragile the whole house of cards really is. You are coordinating dozens of independent moving parts that all have to align perfectly.
Terrifying is exactly the word. You are pouring your heart, your soul, and often tens of thousands of dollars into this one specific calendar date.
Yeah.
You're writing these massive deposit checks, signing legally binding contracts left and right, and basically funding this huge endeavor with zero safety net.
Which is a very risky game to play.
Totally. So today, in this deep dive, we are tearing apart the financial defense strategy of event planning, which is event cancellation insurance. We are going to unpack what event insurance actually covers, what it definitely does not cover, and how to protect yourself.
So you can actually enjoy the moment instead of stressing over all the what-ifs.
Exactly. And we're also going to look at how utilizing platforms, specifically a fantastic hub we researched called the Weddizer website, can help you manage your finances, find the best venues, and use their articles for niche guidance. Okay, let's unpack this.
Well, let's establish the baseline of what we are actually protecting first. Because, before we examine the dramatic, day-ruining, disastrous scenarios, we really need to understand the fundamental mechanism of the insurance itself.
Yeah, like why relying on blind hope isn't a solid financial strategy.
Right. At its core, this is a specialized policy designed to reimburse your financial losses if your event is postponed, canceled, or significantly interrupted.
And the core benefits are pretty straightforward, right? It's financial protection against losing deposits for your venues, your caterers, the photographer. Plus, I mean, just the peace of mind.
Absolutely. It acts as a crucial safety net for vendor reliability. And looking at the sources, the target audience is quite broad. It's couples planning weddings, sure, but also event planners, corporate organizers, and destination wedding hosts.
It's like travel insurance, but instead of protecting a $2,000 vacation to the beach, you're protecting tens of thousands of dollars and arguably the most important day of your life.
What's fascinating here is the psychological shift that occurs when people finally realize the scale of their investment. People often view this kind of insurance as an optional luxury add-on.
Like something only a celebrity throwing $1 million bash would buy.
Exactly. But if you actually sit down and tally up those substantial upfront costs, it changes things. The venue rental, catering minimums, the photographer's retainer, you are paying a massive portion of those fees months, sometimes years in advance. Yeah. So it transitions from an optional add-on to a critical risk management tool.
Because you wouldn't just buy a brand new car and drive it off the lot without insuring it.
No, you'd be sweating the entire drive home. Yet people routinely invest the cash equivalent of a brand new car into a single day's event without a second thought.
Wow. Yeah, that really puts it into perspective.
Yeah.
So now that we know why we need it, let's look at the actual threats. We need to transition from the concept of protection to the tangible, everyday disasters that trigger these policies.
The things that actually go wrong.
Right. And the research points to three main culprits, which we can call the unpredictable trio. That's weather, illness, and vendors. Weather seems like the most obvious one, especially for outdoor weddings.
Oh, definitely. Weather is easily the most volatile variable in the entire planning process. But the mechanics of how the insurance actually covers weather goes far beyond just a simple, it rained during the ceremony.
Right. They aren't paying out because it was a bit drizzly.
No, these policies cover extreme severe conditions. We're talking extreme heat waves, heavy torrential rain, storms, or floods. It covers actual physical venue damage.
So if a severe storm rolls through and literally rips the roof off your reception barn, you're covered.
Exactly. But it also covers inaccessibility, which is really interesting. Let's say your venue is completely intact. It's a beautiful sunny day at the venue itself, but a localized flood has completely washed out the only main access road to get there.
Oh, wow. So the building is fine, but nobody can physically reach it.
Right. The insurance recognizes that paying for an island you cannot sail to is a covered, legitimate disruption. And it also covers travel disruptions for key participants.
All right, so if a massive blizzard shuts down the major airline hubs and the groom's entire immediate family cannot fly in, that counts.
Yes, because an event isn't just about the physical building having the lights on. It's about the essential people actually being able to attend.
That makes a lot of sense. So what about the second major threat? Illness or injury? I imagine there are strict rules there too.
Very strict. We aren't talking about a groomsman getting a minor head cold, right? The policies explicitly define key individuals.
Meaning the bride, groom, or immediate family.
Exactly. Or maybe a singular keynote speaker at a corporate summit. If one of those key individuals suffers a sudden, severe illness, an accident, or requires unexpected hospitalization, the policy kicks in to cover a full postponement.
Which is amazing because it removes that horrible guilt. You don't have to choose between financial ruin and the health of your loved ones. You can pull the plug, focus on the hospital, and know you have the funds to reschedule later.
Precisely. Medical emergencies are entirely out of your control.
Mm.
But then we have the third threat, which is vendor failure.
Right, the vendors.
This covers vendor no-shows or bankruptcy. It reimburses lost deposits, compensates for incomplete services, and covers the costs of finding last-minute replacements.
Wait, I have to push back on this a little bit. Because look, if I hire a professional caterer, right, I sign a contract, I pay a deposit, and they just don't show up on a Saturday, isn't that just a massive breach of contract? Like, why do I need insurance for that? Can't I just sue them?
It's a very logical question, and honestly, it's a trap a lot of planners fall into. While contracts offer legal recourse, they don't solve the immediate problem of finding a last-minute replacement on the day of the event.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, a contract is just a piece of paper. It doesn't solve the visceral problem of you standing in an empty reception hall with 200 hungry guests staring at you.
Right, a lawsuit doesn't serve appetizers.
Exactly. And a lawsuit definitely doesn't magically materialize money from a bankrupt caterer. If a vendor goes bankrupt and shuts their doors, they are legally insolvent. They have no assets. The money's just gone.
So the contract gives me the theoretical right to sue, but the insurance policy actually gives me the liquid cash to fix the problem right now.
That is the crucial mechanical distinction. The insurance acts as an immediate financial bridge. If that caterer goes bankrupt, it reimburses your lost deposit. And crucially, it covers the extra costs of finding a last-minute replacement.
Because booking a new, high-quality caterer with only 7 days' notice is going to cost an absolute premium.
Yes, and the insurance covers that unexpected financial gap so the event can still happen seamlessly.
Okay, so since insurance sounds like a magic bullet for all these disasters, we naturally have to ask, what's the catch? We need to move from what is covered to the rigid boundaries of the policy.
The fine print.
Exactly. What is definitively not covered? Let's dig into that.
Well, before we hit the hard exclusions, there are some surprising coverages in the fine print.
Oh, right, the edge cases, like
Yeah.
military deployment. If a key participant is suddenly called up for active duty, policies often cover the postponement.
They do. And they also frequently cover sudden job loss or corporate layoffs for the person primarily funding the event. The underwriting recognizes that sudden involuntary unemployment is a valid reason for cancellation.
Also, travel delays preventing essential participants from arriving, or even a sudden venue closure due to legal issues. Which is wild. Like if the city suddenly revokes the venue's operating permit the week before, you're covered.
Because it's entirely outside your control.
Which perfectly sets up the hard exclusions, the things that are universally rejected by claims adjusters.
The hard nose.
Right. The first massive exclusion is the classic movie trope change of mind.
Ah, yes. The runaway bride scenario.
Exactly. If you simply decide you don't want to get married, or your company decides it doesn't want to host this gala anymore, the insurance company is not footing the bill. Runaway brides make for great cinema, but terrible insurance claims.
That makes sense. And it also explicitly excludes poor planning or low attendance. So, like, if nobody RSVPs to your invitations, you can't just cancel and claim it on your insurance.
No, you cannot. And financial insolvency that is not explicitly listed is also excluded. Insurance is built entirely on the mathematical probability of unpredictable disasters, not behavioral choices.
Right, they'd be insuring human fickleness otherwise, which is called moral hazard in the insurance world.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. There is one massive exclusion that absolutely everyone needs to understand, and that is known risks.
Oh, yes. This is vital.
It's like trying to buy car insurance while you are currently sliding on an icy road. If there's already a pre-existing weather warning like a named hurricane is projected to hit your venue, you can't suddenly buy a policy to cover it.
This raises an important question regarding how consumers must actively understand their own event's unique vulnerabilities. You cannot outsmart the insurance company on timing.
Right, they already know about the hurricane.
Exactly. You can't just assume a blanket policy covers every single whim. You have to anticipate risks before they become headlines.
Which brings us to strategic planning. Armed with the knowledge of what can go wrong and what the fine print says, how does the listener actually execute this properly?
Well, step one is assessing your total event budget. You have to calculate the total cost, every deposit, every fee. Your coverage needs to match or exceed that exact amount.
Because if you have a $50,000 event and you buy a $20,000 policy, you're leaving yourself dangerously exposed.
Highly exposed. Then you need to compare providers for clear claims processes and check that the big three weather, illness, and vendor failure are explicitly covered. And crucially, buy early, right after booking major services.
To avoid that known risk trap, keep documentation of all payments and book reliable vendors with contracts. And honestly, this is where listeners really need to utilize digital tools.
Oh, absolutely. Tracking this manually is a nightmare.
Right. And that's why the Weddizer website is the perfect way to manage these finances. You can't just use a messy spreadsheet. With Weddizer, you can track every vendor deposit down to the penny.
It establishes the exact baseline budget you need to insure.
Exactly. Plus, it's an incredible selection tool. You can find the best places for wedding events and carefully select your vendors right on their platform to minimize risk. And if you are planning something highly specific, you can use their article section for niche event guidance.
That is a great resource.
Right. Like, if you are planning a traditional cultural ceremony with multiple days of events, you can read their articles to understand the specific risks and vendor requirements before you ever approach an insurance underwriter.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, insurance isn't a substitute for good planning. It's just the final layer of a solid foundation. If you use a robust tool like Weddizer to manage your budget and select the right vendors and then wrap that airtight plan in a comprehensive cancellation policy, your event becomes essentially bulletproof.
So what does this all mean? It means that event cancellation insurance is the ultimate backup plan. Whether it's a freak sled washing out a road or a bankrupt photographer, protecting your investment lets you focus on the joy of the day, rain or shine.
Because the financial stress is entirely removed.
Exactly. If you are putting your hard-earned money into a major celebration, you owe it to yourself to protect that investment just like you would a house or a car.
You really do. It's just transferring an unpredictable financial risk to an entity that can handle it. But, looking forward, it leaves me wondering about the future of this industry.
Oh, how so?
Well, as events become increasingly digital or hybrid, imagine a massive destination wedding that is primarily being broadcast live to VR headsets for hundreds of guests worldwide. How will event insurance evolve?
Oh, wow. VR weddings. That's a wild thought.
Will future policies protect against global server outages or internet failure just as robustly as they currently protect against a rainstorm? That's something for you to think about as the landscape of celebrations changes.
That is such a fascinating point. When the venue is virtual, the weather is the Wi-Fi. That is definitely something to ponder. But for now, track your numbers, vet your vendors, and write that massive deposit check with confidence.